All right. All right.
All right.
Hello, dear listeners of the Mad Scientist podcast. I'm your host, Chris Cogswell, here with my co-host, Marie Mayhew. Marie,
What is
how you doing?
up? Well, first of all, I have to say, tonight is the episode that you and I were meant to bring to fruition. This is our reason d'etre, my friend, right here.
It does feel like we did it, right, Marie?
Yeah.
Like we're finally coming around here.
I feel like this is it.
I'm feeling great. So
This is apex right here.
Listeners, for those that don't know, our episode tonight is on how do you even describe it, Marie?
Epic.
Cats, kind of.
Cats!
It's on cats.
Cats!
But in like a weird way, it's on paranormal cats, but not so.
What?
It's on different paranormal cats, cryptids, all that kind of stuff. So
Crazy cat stories.
I'm pretty excited.
Stories about our own cats. Like we are you want to talk about like we're just unnaturally happy about this too. I don't know why I'm just like, yay! I'm giddy about talking about cats, which is sad. But you know what? I'm having a good time, so whatever. That's good.
It's going to be wonderful. I'm very excited. Okay.
Yes.
So let's
Cats!
let's get into it, Marie. So first off, listeners, for those that don't know, so the podcast is growing at an extremely quick rate, which is awesome, which is really, really great.
Yes.
It is very cool to see and to hear all your feedback and to just kind of get the heads up from you on what you like, what you don't like, all that kind of stuff.
We're assuming you all love cats. Please don't tell us otherwise. It'll break our hearts.
We're really hoping you like cats.
Mm-hmm.
So this week is the first time ever we broke into the top 30 in the natural sciences category in podcasts. In Apple Podcasts. So pretty cool. We're actually getting a lot of love in Finland, Italy, and Norway right now, which is really cool.
Sweet, the Danes.
Yeah, the Danes like us, which is nice.
We're huge with the Danes.
And so
crazy. Yeah.
As you know, if you listen to the show, so we have had a lot of kind of things going on recently for ourselves personally. So for instance, I just moved into my new apartment. This is the first time recording in a new apartment, Marie.
Oh my God. So why did you move? I'm such a bad pod partner. I didn't even know he moved.
No, it's fine. You got other stuff going on. We moved basically because they're building a soccer stadium. Like not with like seriously, I could kick a soccer ball at the soccer stadium from where we used to live here in the Twin Cities. So with the soccer stadium going up, like it's gonna open in I think it's gonna open next season or something maybe.
Wow.
But the traffic in that area is already pretty terrible.
And hooligans? Are you worried about the soccer hooligans?
Not really worried about hooligans.
Hooliganism.
Worried.
Hooliganism in the Twin Peaks.
Just kind of more worried about like what happens to any area where they put a stadium ever. You know what I mean? Like it's never.
It's true.
Stadiums never increase the good. Like they never increase the safety or like
or
niceness of an area or the noise or the traffic or the pollution or any of that stuff. So considering the area was already kind of like on the edge of kind of, I guess
safe.
Not really safe. No, like the area we were living in a super safe area, whatever. Like that's totally fine. Just more like we were living right on the edge of like there was a major highway there. So some days it was like you just couldn't drive. Other days it was terrible. Other days it was totally fine. Like it kind of varied pretty often. To now with this stadium, I'm just like it's always going to be terrible. Like it's going to suck. So we moved. We also just got a bigger place.
Oh my God, moving on up.
My old recording room is bursting at the seams with monster things and alien books.
With Halloween doodads. Like, oh my God, did you have like 2 or 3 like U-Haul trucks just filled with Halloween paraphernalia?
We had a whole box decorated Chris's tchotchkes, which is bad. Which isn't great.
Your movers are like, where would you like the 27th box marked Halloween, sir?
Where do you want this?
Anywhere!
Yeah, where do you want this dozen grimoires, sir? So, pretty exciting. So, that's what happened with us. And then, Marie, you had a bit of a family trip
I had a family trip. We went to Colorado. That's where I recorded. We recorded our get together with Rob and Sam on
Yeah.
the Fresno Night Crawlers. Which, by the way, and then soon after that, after I got back, we took a road trip to Southern California, and we went right by the exit for Fresno, and I was like, "Oh my God, Fresno!"
So
Shout out, Fresno!
shout out. So we actually have a special interview coming up with one of the original reporters of the Fresno story. Not the person reporting it, a reporter who covered the story.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not
news
kidding.
To me,
They contacted
this is
the
news to
show.
me, people. What?
They sent us a message on Facebook. He said he's a listener and he'd love to talk.
Is he for real? Like,
I don't
if
know.
he is-
We're gonna find out. It won't be Marie. We're gonna find out.
First of all, like, shout out, thank you for getting in touch with us. Stuff like this is like completely, it is like catnip for us because we love it so much. Because it's just like, I mean, the guy who, or the woman who, the reporter who covered the story, did they give, so do they know that you, Dr. Chris Cogswell, are a little bit siding on sort of the skeptic side of the Fresno
they
Night
do.
Crawler.
They do know that.
They do know. And so what was their, I don't want to do any spoilers, but, I, on the other hand, I don't believe in hardly anything, and I am 100% down with Fresno Night Crawlers. Seriously, I think that's like, if there's going to be alien life out there, I want it to be something like the Fresno Night Crawlers. So that's awesome. I don't even want to know if what they think. We're gonna.
No,
it's
gonna be great.
Awesome.
I'm very excited. Okay,
I am too.
Let's get into these cats, Marie.
Cats.
Welcome to the Mad Scientist Podcast. Today's episode: cats.
So, we both have cats. We should fully disclose in the entrance of being transparent and fair. We both have cats. I'd like to think of myself as a cat and or dog person. I think the reason I have cats now is when I was a kid, my mom was allergic, so we could never have cats. And one of the big stories was, well, Marie, when you grow up and you have your own apartment and you're making your own money, you can get a cat. And so, like, the very first thing that I did as soon as I moved to San Francisco, got a job, got an apartment, like, before I got groceries in the house, I had an M&F and cat, yo! And it was like,
of course,
like, it was like the first thing. And I've always just associated cats with sort of, this thing I could never have as a kid. And so we've always had cats, and I have a cat now. Or I should say my daughter has a cat now because the cat, Sophie, picked her out. And the cat's just, it's almost like a yellow lab. It just, it's the size of a yellow lab. It's sort of has this dopey nature. It's awesome. And I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of her, I should say, of Sophie. So that is my cat, is Sophilicious, as we like to call her.
good stuff. All right, nice. So we have two cats actually. So we have Chippy, also known as Dasha, who, okay, so originally when we originally adopted her, so Katie and I were in college. Katie was like, I want a pet. I don't know what kind of pet I want. It's either between like a puppy or a cat, right? And so, and I say puppy just because we were gonna get like a small dog.
Yeah.
But so we looked at some like adoption places, whatever. And there were like a couple of cute dogs we were thinking about maybe. And then we went back to Staten Island for a summer, right? Like in between classes. And Katie and her mom are like, we're going to go to the animal shelter just to like look, just to see what kind of cats they have. Right? Like just to
browse.
look. Yeah,
Just
seriously.
browsing. Just looking.
And so like the minute that they decided we're going to go just look for cats, that was the end.
That's the kiss of death.
Right? Like
it.
you're going to buy a cat. Like you're taking home a cat, right? You're going to adopt a cat.
Yeah.
So she goes, and this obese gray cat will not stop meowing at Katie. It's just like meow, 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 whatever. And Katie, like, heart melts, falls in love with this cat. The cat's name is Penelope. And so
What
Katie,
up with those names?
I don't know.
Shelters. Like, I've seen some shelters. I mean, you have to name so many animals, so I get it. But, like, some of the names, yikes.
it's not great. So then Katie drove home. Her and her mom are like, we should really go back and get that cat. I can't believe it. It was so cute, yada, yada, whatever. They call me and they say, Chris. So they call me and they say, my dad doesn't want a cat. Katie's dad didn't want a cat at the time. And so she was asking me, can you, will your mom let you have a cat for like the rest of the summer? Because the cat, they didn't want to leave the cat, but they knew they couldn't have it. And so my mom was just like, whatever, right? Like my mom was like, yeah, that's fine for like a month. I don't care.
Shout out
Dora. But Katie's dad was just like, you can have a cat. Like, I don't care anymore. Whatever. So they go back, they get the cat, they bring it home, whatever. She renamed it Dasha. And then we immediately started calling it Chippy instead. And this cat is the best. It's this little fluff. Oh, I didn't even finish the best part of this story. On the week after we adopted her, or the week after Katie adopted her, there was like, like your local newspaper will do like Pet of the Week or whatever.
Of course.
So she was Pet of the Week.
Oh.
It was Penelope. And so I have the cutout of that still in my mom's fridge. It's still there when I go home to Staten Island to see it. It's really great. I'll have to throw it up onto the website maybe. But so we have Chippy, who is now very old.
Well, and is the name of our production company.
Yes. Damn it, Chippy Productions. For Chippy the Cat.
Which I don't know. It was just as a quick little side note. How we got to that was like Chris was setting up and the cat was antagonizing him somehow. I don't know. Being smarter than Chris, probably. It was like,
100%.
He was like, damn it, Chippy. And I was like, just repeatedly, like 3 or 4 times, he's like, damn it, Chippy. And I was like, that's probably the best 2 words I've ever heard put together.
It's gotta be the name.
In the English language. Forget cellar door and all that jazz. Damn it, Chippy. It was hysterical.
Chippy's so
and the
good.
Angst in your voice. Anyways, so and Chippy's adopted fuzzy sister
is Seaborg, Glenda T. Seaborg, which is a name that I picked out for my favorite scientist, Glenn T. Seaborg.
You don't say.
He's so great. Yeah. So Seaborg is Chippy's little sister. They do not get along, but we have 2 cats in the house. They get along okay. They're starting to warm up to each other. They kind of, it's been about 2 years. And they don't always bite each other now, which is nice. But they sleep fine, they hang out, whatever. It's okay. It's totally fine. And yeah, so we have 2 cats, but
Seaborg.
A horde of cats and a lifelong belief that you've been abducted by aliens kind of seem to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right. That and kind of, spiritual and whatever. And the connection between cats and the paranormal goes back to medieval times, even farther than that.
Oh yeah.
Cats were considered a holy animal in ancient Egypt. They were believed to be basically a animal form of the god Sekhmet, I believe.
Yes, or the goddess, right?
Yes, the goddess Sekhmet, yes. And they also, they played a prominent role, cats and other familiars, right, played a prominent role in witchcraft history throughout Europe. So cats were considered to be a kind of a wily, intelligent creature who had a link or an ability to see between the real world, the physical world, and the spiritual world. And that particularly made them very adept as familiars, which were sometimes physical, sometimes ghostly animal companions that would speak in English or communicate some way to witches and basically help them in their dastardly deeds. And so and that's become a modern trope with witches. You see like on Sabrina the witch or whatever, right? Where She's got a cat. What's the cat's name in Sabrina the Teenage
I don't
Witch?
know, but I love it when it files its nails. I think
Yeah,
that's hysterical.
it is
That's my
hilarious.
favorite.
So the cat has this very mythical kind of place, I guess, in the world of lore.
Yeah.
But modern day stories of cats, paranormal
Love
cats,
Oh my god.
are insane. They run the gamut, but they're pretty ridiculous. So, Marie, do you want to start with one of yours?
So I think just to go back to sort of the lore of cats and like really quickly just say, domesticated animals between your two big, right, your cats versus your dogs, you can kind of see why cats got the more nefarious sort of lore attached to them, in that they are not considered, even though I think that they are relatively, they're not considered loyal, they're aloof, they're independent, they don't really, play well with others sometimes, unlike the dog that's much more, has this almost 180 opposite set of characteristics to it. So I think that to me, it's like, even though the cat was important and deified in ancient Egypt because of everything they did for, keeping, rodents away from grain and all of that, I just find it amazing that, like, I don't know, that there is a lot of sort of, like we were saying, like nefarious, like the cat stealing the baby's breath kind of thing to it, which is always, to me, a little off-putting. So I'm going to go back in, and I think so I've got a few, and I'm pulling this from a source on the internet. I mean, basically, if you go into your Google and you put in strange cat stories, like, the stuff that comes up is just gold. It's just gold. And I haven't really validated or, done another primary source on this, but there's a few. So I would have to say is one of my favorite stories is Stubbs, the cat, who serves as a mayor in Alaska.
Ooh, Stubbs.
Yes. A town in Alaska with only about 900 population appointed a part Manx cat, which a part Manx is kind of interesting because Manx cats have no tails, correct?
I don't know. It sounds
right. And if you're a part Manx, maybe you have half a tail. Okay, so we're going to check that out later. We're going to verify that later. Steps to the office of mayor in 1997. Held the post ever since, and is just like, so. What I don't get about this is, so immediately I'm thinking, well, like, did this town in Alaska just decide to do some sort of, was it a protest vote or something like that? Like, how did this happen?
Stubbs. I'm all for Stubbs.
But contrary to popular reports, the cat did not actually win a write-in vote because the voters rejected all human candidates. Someone just appointed him to the post. So Stubbs' position is entirely ceremonial, and it's in unincorporated census district in the Anchorage area. Talikana, I believe. Takitna is the name of the town. And it's also cited as the inspiration for the 1990s TV series Northern Exposure. So even if, let's just step back from this and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to say that Stubbs, it's just a ceremonial position. But the cat's mayor, right? The cat's the mayor of the town since 1997. That's kind of like a crazy, that's just peculiar. Like, I don't know how 900 people agree on anything, right? And they somehow are totally cool with a cat being their governing body.
Well, so there was a cat. So the cat's name was Browser, right? And so this was a cat who was in where the heck was he? I can't remember exactly where he was here, but he was here he is. White Settlement Public Library in Texas. Okay, he was originally adopted in this library to help with a rodent problem. Okay,
Which again makes total sense, right? That
Right.
makes sense.
and so now he's a fixture at this library, right? He's got a job at the library. He's like a librarian. He's got a little seat and everything, right?
Yes.
But they originally a city
Got a
council
little overdue stamp.
a city councilwoman put in a law, I guess, or I don't know, a council vote, something, whatever,
Right.
to get rid of Browser, because he presents a inconvenience to people with cat allergies. Right? The library claims
Which is
they have.
totally fair. That's
That's
a
fair.
valid
It's fine.
point.
Whatever.
That's
The library says it has a air purifier that will remove 99% of allergens from the air. Okay, but after it went on to Reddit, that's where I first saw it, and it became a ginormous international story. The city was just inundated with emails and letters, and so the
people
mayor
were
here,
ticked, right?
the people really ticked. So
People
Ron
were
White,
not having it.
Ron White, the mayor of White Settlement, the name of this town, which that's an interesting name for a town, is quoted here as saying, quote, now that the controversy is behind the small city, White said he is glad it's all over with. Quote, it was a waste of time and money. It was ridiculous to do that, and they did it without thinking ahead, he said. It was absolutely wrong to begin with. And the city councilwoman did not respond to ABC News' request for comment.
The cat's publicist, however, is going on to 60 Minutes, right?
Oh my goodness, it's so silly.
And
So
Joy, hitting it with some and Joy. That's some good stuff.
ridiculous. So Browser, good for you. Still got your job. There's some other there are some other stories too about cats with jobs. Like there's one that was in there's a cat in Japan, right? Who goes to the market to get fish for his family every day.
Oh,
And there's a penguin that does it too, actually.
I've
seen that one on YouTube as well. Okay,
that's pretty cute too.
that is a good story, Marie. So one of my
Oh, go ahead.
So-
yes.
No. So you like the mayor. So the mayor story is one of your good ones.
Cat. I love the mayor cat. Governing bodies, feline governing bodies, like that's just. And the town again. It's not like they were like, you know what, this stuff with the cat, it's not working out. Like our budget is totally jacked. Infrastructure, unemployment, the town is going to hell in a handbasket. No, they're like, you know what? Let's just keep this sweet thing happening. It's going well. 900 people totally happy. What? Well, because of a cat.
Okay, so this I found a really fun article on strangerdimensions.org. Or sorry, strangerdimensions.com. Okay. Now, the first article here is titled 5 Signs a Ghost Cat is Haunting You Right Now. Okay. And that one
Which is different than a regular cat. Just
that one
effing with you. How?
that one starts with, quote, cats are interdimensional beings. We've already established that they can teleport and even
We've
sometimes
already
come back to
established
life.
that. Well,
There's no point going over that again.
No.
And
God.
that links
Beat
over
that
to an
one to
article.
death.
That links over to an article again on Stranger Dimensions, that says, "Are cats interdimensional beings? Strange tales of teleporting felines." Now, what I really like about this website is on the right hand side there's a latest posts thing. Okay, here's a couple of those ones. Okay, I know we're kind of going off of cats really quick, but I promise we'll be back. So, is the Ouija board just a game? All right, fine. Goodyear
one for the
blimp.
ages.
Goodyear blimp mystifies residents of North Carolina. Okay,
Well, okay.
fine.
Yeah, you can go either way with that.
Okay, video spongy human sea creature mystifies Chinese beach. Okay, but here's the best one. Here's the best one. Jason the horse. Is he a horse in human form?
Huh. Of course.
I don't understand. Okay,
Sorry.
so
Just doing a little Mr. Ed for you people out there.
So
On the way back.
what this article is kind of talking about is, so first off, if you want a really funny episode on ghost cats, I listened to last podcast on the left. They did a really funny one, but so one idea with cats, again, part of their kind of overall lore, is that they can see and interact with the spirit world, and particularly that they can kind of phase in and out of this dimension into another dimension. That they can actually go between the real world and the spirit world. Again, a thing that makes them a very good familiar, particularly, and all that kind of stuff.
This, by the way, best episode ever.
Best episode ever.
I'm calling it.
I just like this one just because I think it's really funny.
This is awesome. Keep going. I'm enwrapped.
But there's a whole internet side about, cats can ward off ghosts, and cats can see spirits, and oh my goodness, my cat cured my cancer. People people get so weird about cats, Marie. I don't understand it.
But I'm loving the 5 signs. So what are the 5 signs? Like I'm just hanging out. I'm watching TV. I'm watching American Ninja Warrior or something along that case. And and something happens.
Okay. So 1, a furry presence.
A furry presence? Okay.
So if you feel that something is staring at you, it might be a cat.
Okay.
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 Another one here. Phantom meowing.
Okay. Phantom meowing.
Phantom meowing.
All right.
Okay.
Phantom meow. So what, like meow?
Okay. Number 3. Number three. Familiar, and then in parentheses, but ghostly smells. So, like cat pee, they say that the smell of cat pee might be a sign that you have a ghost cat. It also might be that, like, your cat peed in the corner and you didn't realize until the overwhelming smell of cat was gone. Right? Like, it could just be that you were nose blind to the cat pee.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Familiar scents. Like, there's, like, scents, like, smells with cats. There's only going to be, like maybe 3 or 4, and none of them are going to be like pleasant. So what are you like that's probably not something you even want to smell. All right, I'm hanging in. Okay. Stuff just starts to knock off the shelf, right?
This one I like. Okay. This is from this strangerdimensions.com. Mm-hmm. The following account may seem a bit crude, but it's yet another sign that a ghost cat may be nearby. That of strange and sometimes wicked smells. 2 years ago, Reddit user Catweasel shared a story about her 16-year-old cat, who unfortunately had to be put to sleep earlier that week. A few days later, after walking over by the kitchen pantry, she was hit with the overwhelming odor of cat urine. Now, this might not seem too odd, but not only could it have perhaps been a remnant of her deceased cat, but there were also 2 other cats in the house. However, those 2 cats were asleep in the bedroom at the time, and the door to the pantry had been open.
Totally innocent.
Seriously, the smell was far too intense and fresh, he explained, and focused on one specific area, the 2 middle shelves, where it was unlikely either of the living cats would reach. That and absolutely nothing was wet. It didn't make any sense.
None whatsoever.
She even went and brought one of her other kittens into the kitchen to see if she would react, but nothing happened. And then, just like that, the smell disappeared. For about an hour to an hour and a half, I kept going back to try and figure it out. Then one time I went back and nothing. There was no trace of any smell. All day I was wondering. The smell never returned. So, one of the 2 living cats pissed there. The cat that was sick enough to be
innocent. They were innocent.
The cat that
they
was
were
sick
in
enough,
the other room.
Right. The cat that was sick enough to be put down had peed there. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a non-thing. It's a nonsense problem.
So wait a minute. So you're debunking ghost cat.
In this case.
Okay. All right.
In this case. Okay.
All right. I'm ready, because then I have another case study for you. But let's get the rules of what that is.
Sure. So, okay. 4.
Because we're only like stinky odors. Okay.
Right. So 4. 4, shadow cats at the corner of your eyes.
Shadow cats!
Yeah. Now,
Ooh.
this is just like, because I do this too, right? Where
You're a ghostly shape in the corner of somebody's eyes.
well, yeah, like the number of times I have mistaken a pair of sweatpants on the ground for Chippy is like astronomical. So to me, this is just a sign you have a cat. Like you might have just had a cat at some point, which is probably true if you have a ghost cat. And then there's number 5 here. Ghost cat apparitions.
Full feline apparitions.
Yes. Now that to
Come
me,
on.
that number 5 to me seems to be the only indicator that you have a ghost cat. You know, everything else on this list could have just gone either way.
Everything else is debatable or sliding scale. I think a full apparition, a full-blown apparition, you can call it.
You can say I got a ghost cat.
I got me a ghost cat.
Yeah.
Okay, so from pawculture.com, I will bring you the story of the Crescent Hotel. What makes this hotel so spooky? Morris, the ghost cat. So, Crescent Hotel and Spa in scenic Ozark Mountains, overlooking Eureka Springs, Arkansas. So don't be surprised if you're checking in for your mani-pedi, maybe a seaweed wrap, I don't know, whatever they do in the Ozarks, and you feel a cat jump up on your lap or brush against your legs only to look down and see that there is nothing there. The hotel has supposedly the Crescent is supposed to be one of the most haunted in America and boasts many ghost stories according to this website. However, none with more notoriety and fame than Morris, the orange tabby that was the hotel mascot from 1973 to 1994. So he was named after the famous Nine Lives food cat at the time, and was owned by someone in the hotel, and resided there, and became sort of the mascot, and even earned the nickname General Manager by the hotel staff. So, yes, right? So then, of course, as cats are, they come to the end of their life. I believe he was even buried when he passed away. They had a well-attended wake for said Morris. There's a portrait of him that still hangs in the lobby, along with a memorial plaque and a poem about the cat. And he is buried in the back of the hotel in a flower bed. Sorry, in a flower bed just beyond the veranda. So the problem being is you got to be really careful when you put in your perennials, okay?
Sure, yeah.
All right. So, but does Morris still roam the halls of the Crescent? And there's some awesome stories about people who have had interactions with the ghost cat themselves. So I'm looking here. I'm looking for weird odors. I'm trying to scratch a few off the list, and basically they feel a cat jump up on their lap. They look down, and there's nothing there. They report seeing a cat run down the hallway and disappear around the corner, and when they give chase to look for it, they can't find anything. Mm-hmm. One of the most popular places for said ghost cat is the ghost tour given at the hotel, which ends up in the morgue. Wait, no, so hold up. I am reading this off of Pause Culture. Why does a hotel have a morgue?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good question.
So, in morgue, turn on the lights one particular night. So, we're going to come back to that because that should be your clue that you probably don't want to stay there. That the spa is a little questionable in that it's actually a morgue.
Interesting.
So the tour concludes when the guide huddles the group inside the morgue, turns the door and the lights off, and then says, "Oh, scary," and then turns the lights on, and they feel something brush against their legs, and somebody said, "Oh my God, is there a cat in here?" And they all look around, and there's no cat. So, I guess Morris shows up in pictures. And is a fairly famous presence. Although I would say that's great. That's a great marketing thing, and that's a good thing you should have if you are running a hotel or a spa that has a morgue. Side note.
Interesting.
So ghost cats in Arkansas, yo. I want to hear more about that. If any of our listeners have ever gotten the the volcanic ash, or the whatever's big in Arkansas for spa treatments at this place.
Good God. Okay.
I know.
Okay.
No. So no ghostly smells, or anything along those lines.
Nothing.
But
None of the signs.
But there's a presence in there, and there's
I don't
a
think
morgue.
they had one. There was none of the. Mary, where's the cat pee?
Oh, I know. Thrown out because no cat pee. I know.
I'm telling you.
Closing that link. All right.
Okay. So one of the main, besides the fact that we love cats, one of the main stories that made me want to do this episode actually was. Have you ever, Marie, heard of an alien big cat?
An alien big cat? No, I have not, but you had me at alien plus big plus cat.
Okay, so you're already into it. Okay.
I'm 100%.
All right. So there's a couple of them that are what the alien big cat, what it basically means, it doesn't mean they're from outer space. It doesn't mean they're like aliens themselves.
Oh.
What it means is that they are big cats. They're like leopards or tigers or pumas or something that are in.
I was kind of hoping for like the He-Man cat that he rode. That was like an alien big cat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? Okay.
So it's a big cat that is spotted in an area where you wouldn't normally expect them to be.
Oh.
So
okay. Like a hotel.
Like a hotel. Some of the most famous ones come from Britain, from the UK, right? And so that's you have stories of things like the Beast of Dartmoor, right, or other big cat stories like that. So there's a interesting one recently: the Beast of Cumbria, the Creature of Cornwall, the Wild Cat of Warwickshire, right?
First of all, I love all of that. I love the British. It's almost like forget the Hounds of the Baskerville. You're like, the Wild Cat of Warwickshire. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Okay, now the cool thing about these stories is that there's some really like how people say, oh, if there's Bigfoot out there, why have there never been any pictures? These big cat stories are the perfect example of that, where there are pictures. People have video of big cats in their backyard in North Carolina, and they're like, what the hell? And it's like it's a puma, right? Or it's a tiger, or it's something else. It's insanity, right? So here's some.
But is it alien?
No. They're just ginormous cats that should not be in that area.
Oh.
And they just destroy the local environment. So here's a list here. This is from The Sun, so obviously not a super great source, but there's some other ones, whatever. We're talking about ghost cats. How great can we really get here? So here are some of the sightings here, recent ones in the UK. There's the Beast of Cumbria, which is a black cat like a panther. The Hull Hellcat, a huge puma. The Bury Beast, which is again a black panther. The Wildcat of Wakefield, another black panther. The Pershore Panther. The Wildcat of Warwickshire, which I think is a lynx, possibly.
I love that.
The Bedfordshire Big Cat, it's a panther. So there's a bunch of them, right? There's a lot of them here. Now, why I really like this story is that there's actually a lot of really good science to show that it's actually a real problem. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
So there are actually more it's believed that there are more captive tigers in the United States than there are wild ones in the rest of the entire world.
Huh.
Okay, and certain
That's
states,
off-putting.
like for instance
shouldn't-
Texas, Texas allows you to have a pet tiger.
So I'm just going to go out on a hypothetical limb here and say that if an animal is not domesticated, you really shouldn't have it as a pet,
No, not at all.
right? You shouldn't have it as a pet, even though it's like, there's this tiny little bit of my brain that's like, oh, it's such a pet for a tiger. But it's like, that's not cool. Like, that animal is not meant to be a domestic animal and should be where it's meant to be, which is not in your, not in your living room eating peanut butter.
Yeah. So the number of big cats reported in the United States fell from 6,563 in 2011 to 5,144 in 2018. So that's a pretty good decrease, right?
Wow.
Now, some of these stories though they're nuts, right? So for instance, there was a female tiger was found just walking around the streets of Houston in 2016 after a flood, because the owner, the person who had them in their home, just let them go because they were like, we can't take care of them, right? And so it was a rescue farm. It was a rescue farm, but specifically like someone brought in this animal that was like, we can't take care of it anymore, whatever. And then it flooded, and they just let it go into the wild in Texas.
That's not much of a rescue farm. If
No.
you're just going to let the animal go, I mean, you're going to need rescue from the rescue farm. Your purpose is to rescue,
Yeah,
not to
it's
make things worse for everybody. Oh my God.
It's insanity. So there's some other big issues here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's believed that still today there's about 7,000 tigers in captivity in the United States. Okay, there's 4,000 in the wild.
Oh my God.
So really, it's insanity, right?
Yeah.
Now, with that comes a tremendous amount of maulings.
Well, yeah.
All right. So the high level mark recently for big cat incidents was around 110, or maybe like 105, somewhere around there around 2005.
Mm-hmm.
It's been smaller. It's been lower recently, right? But it has not been great. It's not great that there's any of them, obviously. And some of them are pretty serious. Now, what I find to be fascinating about this is a lot of the areas here where there are these big cat kind of attacks, right, or maulings or problems or whatever, are states that have stories of what's the word of
Ghost cats.
of alien big cats.
Alien big cats.
Right. So one of the most common alien big cats in the United States is called the Wampus cat.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a panther-like cat, some kind of panther or whatever. The legend of the Wampus beast or the Wampus cat is a Cherokee. It's from a Cherokee folklore, and the story is that a Cherokee woman didn't trust her husband enough, and so she was trying to find out where he was going when he hunted to make sure that's what he was doing. And so she put on the hide of an animal and went to go try to find him, and instead, on accident, picked up some hunting secrets of the tribe that she wasn't supposed to know. And so the shaman or the guards or whoever caught her and then cast a spell on her that merged her into a beast, like kind of a werewolf sort of thing. All right.
Yeah.
Now, the story is said to be have glowing eyes. It's supposed to be, like I said, a black cat, quite big, muscular, all that other stuff, whatever. It's most well known in kind of the Tennessee, Carolinas, that kind of area. Right?
Wampus area.
The Wampus area, right?
The Wampus Belt.
Yeah, right. It's an interesting.
God.
So mostly like Appalachia, right? That's kind of where it's
Okay.
most commonly found. Now, that's also a region that had big cats in the past, as well, right? Not necessarily giant black glowing-eyed monster animals, but had big cats, you know. And so it makes me wonder with these cases: is it a mix of is it really sightings of big cats that have been escaped or are being let loose by people or are just still naturally living in that area? You know, because a lot of these cases happen in places where we there used to be a population, but now we don't think there are anymore, but maybe there's still one, whatever. Or are these animals being released and then just living life well enough that they're able to survive in the United States?
I think it's probably a mix, and it's also a mix of like I mean my dad, who is in Colorado, reports out, he hears something, knocking around they live on this alley, and he hears something knocking around the trash cans in the alley, and of course, being the ever vigilant guardian of the alley that he is, he's out there, he's looking out there with a flashlight, and I guess like the week before we were there, or even a couple days before we were there, it was a mountain lion. So, granted, he lives, again, Rocky Mountains. They're going to have that type of wildlife, but the wildlife is coming further and further into populated areas as the populated areas go further and further into their natural habitat as well. So I think it's like this weird mix of there being less indigenous areas for wildlife that are of that size, and the ones that are surviving are, going in to find the Chick-fil-A in my dad's trash.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Yeah,
So I
of
think
course.
that's a good part of it. I mean, I don't necessarily think that these things are alien and or ghosts. Because also no weird smells.
Interesting. No weird smells.
No weird smells.
So there are some other stories like this just around the United States. So in Maine, it's known as in Maine, it's known as a Lunkasus.
Ooh, the fighting Lunkasus's.
All right, it's supposedly a maned lion. It's an American lion, basically, like a big cat that lives in America.
Well,
and there have been sightings of these things for a very long time.
The Maine Coon cat is ginormous.
Yeah, it can be very big.
Those things are ginormous and fuzzy. They're so cute.
Yeah. Now there are some other cases here too, where things have been actually found. Okay, so for instance, the Kellis cat was a kind of a weird cryptid that was thought to be found in Scotland, in kind of the Highlands, right? And it was kind of a mix. It was like a black ghost cat, they claimed.
I love it.
It was actually found to be, after one was shot in 1984, was found to be a hybrid between a wild cat and a domestic subspecies of cat.
Huh.
So it was a wild cat and a regular house cat that mated and made a big, spooky, like not super big, but big enough.
Big enough to get some cred in Scotland.
Yeah,
But,
big enough to be a little
If you're going to be a
weird.
cryptid, if you're going to be sort of a scary cryptid, you want to be on the moors. You want to be in Scotland. You want to have glowing eyes. That's sort of canon for your.
absolutely.
For your, that's some good stuff. Again, if you look at sort of the canon idea of like scary animals that are big, pee smells never come into that equation.
Never.
I'm not doubting our sources. I am just saying.
Okay, another one I really like, Marie. So, okay, to kind of clear out the actual big cat thing here. It was reported in the Telegraph in 2016 that the Beast of Dartmoor mystery was actually solved.
What?
Okay, when
Beast of Dartmoor. That's hysterical. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so it was So I'm just gonna read this part.
It was a tabby. Sorry.
Okay. For years, the rumors of big cats roaming Dartmoor and savaging livestock have been dismissed as sheer fantasy, no more credible than claims of the existence of a Loch Ness monster. But the doubters may have, dare one say it, pause for thought. Hilarious. For the claims that for the
Sorry.
claims that big cats are roaming free may actually be true, with the mystery of how they got to Dartmoor and nearby Exmoor and Bodminmoor solved at last. It is now claimed that the 3 pumas were released onto the wilds of Dartmoor by Mary Chipperfield, the famous circus owner, after her zoo in Plymouth was forced to shut down in 1978. The large cats were being driven to their new home at the Moors Wildlife Park by Mrs. Chipperfield, but that only 2 out of a consignment of 5 pumas ever arrived. It is thought Mrs. Chipperfield released her favorite breeding pair and another male into the wild, rather than see them go into a new home. The claim has surfaced in the wake of the disappearance from Dartmoor Zoo of Flavia, a rare lynx which escaped its enclosure earlier this month.
Flavia?
I know, it's ridiculous. So, it's
Way to make the lynx feel wussy. Flavia.
it's very interesting. So, this has been confirmed by people that actually were supposed to buy the pumas and bring them up and things.
So again,
So here's a quote here. She wasn't even obliged to report it because releasing exotic species wasn't illegal until 1981. It was just brushed under the carpet and never talked about. It has never come out until now. So it has been. It's very interesting that it supposedly has been proven that these things existed, and if that's true, they probably still do exist in the wild out there.
probably, but it's also like the folly and vanity of Mrs. Chipperfield that she would
Right.
do that, right? It's like
Right.
it's no romantic notion to put 2 cats out into the wild. I mean, you are releasing them into a habitat that they are not familiar with, that they are not, necessarily top of the food chain predators in, and is dangerous. So the fact that they did survive is amazing, but it shouldn't be celebrated. Like she should be
No.
brought up
Yeah,
on charges for something that's not,
Well, she died in 2014.
So dig her up.
Bring her back. Get her back. So
That's just my go-to for everything.
okay, I hear it. I know. You're old. If I had a nickel for every time Marie said "dig her up,"
Just dig 'em
goodness. Yeah. So it's basically like if you, I don't know. I mean, it's like if you released. There's no example. There's not even a good example for it because it's just a killing machine. You release a killing machine into a new environment, and you're just like,
Yes.
back to
Yes.
nature with you.
But like a killing machine that has no idea of its own identity in
Place
some
or
ways,
power.
right?
Right.
Because
Right,
it's been semi-domesticated and taught a certain relationship with people, and it's like, of course it's gonna terrorize and come into people's backyards. It's not afraid of people, and it's like livestock seems like pretty easy pickings.
Right. It's very interesting. So
Good God.
so now for one that's like rock solid, right? Rock solid true. Marie, have
I'm
you
ready.
ever heard of a serpopard?
Oh, good God. No.
Okay. The serpopard. This is from
Just from
cryptids.wikia.com.
pod at the last, just the POD at the
No,
end.
it's pard. P-A-R-D.
Oh, okay.
S-E-R-P-O-P-A-R-D. Serpopard.
I'm bracing. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
This is from cryptids.wiki.com. So this is like ground to the earth.
Our go-to
True.
for all of our cryptid investigatory research.
Okay. The serpopard is a term applied by some modern researchers to what is described.
Some researchers, do they footnote like who's calling it that? Because you and I are coming up with a
Of course they
different
don't.
term entirely. Okay, keep going.
Of course
Come
they
up with
don't.
something else.
To what is described as a long-necked mythical animal known from ancient Egypt and Mesopotamian depictions. It is an animal whose depictions have been found on ancient Egyptian artifacts. Images of the creatures have been painted on the Narmer palette and small palette of Nekhen. The serpopard is a cross between a leopard and a serpent, bearing the body of a leopard and the head of a snake on a long neck. This is my favorite quote. The Egyptians are well known for their accurate depictions of animals, leading some archaeologists to believe that the serpopard is not a mythical creature, but an extinct animal that existed during that time. Now, what part of putting a bird's face on a man's body is considered an accurate depiction of animals? If there's one thing everyone knows about ancient Egypt, it's the hieroglyphics of like a cat's head on a person, or the Sphinx, or like any of that other crap.
Or Anubis, or Ibex.
They're the worst. They're the worst at depicting real animals.
Well,
I don't understand.
They weren't supposed to be real. They were supposed to be gods with attributes that meant something that was, that was deified and signified by animals. Wow. So what I really want, first of all, it's known by this name. So again, we're coming up with a better name because that just seems come on now. Shamal. Somebody just phoned that one in. And second of all,
Serpopard is a terrible name.
Terrible name. It's not going to, first, it's going to be very hard to market. Second of all, nothing rhymes with it. There's just nothing that you can do with that. But then also I love, they just casually thrown in, it's seen all over ancient Egypt. It's like, no, you just cited a single place that thing could be like a number of different things.
Right.
Right. I'm not even going to Google. I'll Google it later, but I am sort of dubious about that.
What I think we should call it is the lioness.
Oh yes.
Pretty good.
We shall.
Pretty
yes,
good.
We shall.
Feeling good about it.
The lioness.
The lioness.
We're idiots. That's the best thing I've ever heard.
It's
Best
so
episode
good.
ever.
It's so good.
Oh my
All
god.
right.
So yeah, we're gonna have to go and we're gonna have to talk to our buddies at our go-to for
At
for
cryptids.wikia with a Z.
Yeah, with a Z.
Yeah, we gotta talk to him. It's not great.
Cryptids with a Z. Okay, so just as sort of again, I've got two more sort of fun little subjects about cats. One, which is, I don't know how much science is attributed to this, but you always hear stories about, incredible stories about cats that are lost, or that, their owners move and the cat was let out by, the so-and-so accidentally let the cat out and then the family moved, and the cat will travel miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and find them. So, from Mental Floss, 9 incredible stories about cats who were lost and found. And it's this is some crazy stuff. It's there's a cat who, would go out and would stray, and would, kind of take off. And 8 months later, so the family moved and they couldn't find the cat. 8 months later, 1,300 miles, the cat found them. According to this, which is that's some crazy stuff, right? I mean, to me, it's that's I don't know how what is in a cat's senses that they would be able to find someone.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right? Or Charlie, 5 years later. Let me find this one. It's just, and it also kind of chokes me up. It's so sweet. Virginia Fryback of Fort Wayne, Indiana, thought she'd never see Charlie again after he went missing 5 years ago.
That's crazy.
But then just a couple of months, 10-year-old Charlie came into the care of Fort Wayne, and microchipped led back to, so in this case, it was a microchip. So the cat had a microchip in its neck and was able to get, but it's there she is, reunited. Oh, and then here's one that's kind of peculiar, which is, again, my favorite. Came from Colorado, which, again, is the, if my dad's looking out the window looking for, pumas, he might have seen Willow. 5 years later, and 1,800 miles later, Chris and Jamie Squire of Broomfield were looking for their missing cat, Willow, in late 2006. contractor let her out of the house by mistake. They put up posters, but were crushed. They figured, maybe a coyote got her. As my father is favored to saying, oh, it probably was just the coyotes. Then 2011, call from Animal Care and Control in New York City. Willow had been picked up on 20th Street and taken to a shelter in New York City.
Damn.
So again, not cats exactly coming back home, but cats how did a cat get from Colorado to New York City? That's insanity.
That is pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
I don't know.
So I've got, so I don't know what drives a cat to either, but they are clearly very resourceful animals. And again, but also fairly loyal for the ones that will travel miles and miles and miles just to get back to their owners, which is so incredibly sweet. And then I have one more, which is sort of science fiction-y, which I do love. I'm trying to find it here. It's not the oldest cat in history. It's not the cat with the loudest purr. It is a story about cloning cats. Perfect mad scientist. Again, dude, if there was ever anything that was meant for us, this is some good stuff here.
I mean, yeah.
2002, scientists at Texas A&M announced the first successful cloning of a household pet, a kitten they named CC, short for carbon copy or copycat.
Long nose.
Copycat. Oh, sorry. The news was met with mixed reviews. Okay, some, you shouldn't be cloning. That's not cool. But other people were like, oh my God, copycat. I want one. So they also, dabbled. So this has been going on since that time. Millions of cats in shelters agreed you should be rescuing cats that needs home and maybe not cloning them. There's also a process that happened in Korea where researchers were still dabbling in cat cloning and led to cats called Mr. Green Jeans, the first glow-in-the-dark cat, which is a cat that actually glows in the Judean dark, which is crazy. How does that even work? What phosphorescence do you put into the what?
Having a hard time, Marie.
I can't even because this should just be on, cryptoids with a Z or whatever. So Mr. Green Jeans, first glow-in-the-dark cat for the U.S. So it happened, cat cloning that they actually were glowing in the dark was done in Korea, but we have, rest assured, we have met science with science, and we have created our own glow-in-the-dark cat. As for carbon copy, or copycat, she went on to have a normal litter of 3 kittens and lives in Texas with the researcher who cloned her.
Now, that's really interesting. Okay, so first off, cloning is... Okay, so the first question you had...
Don't clone.
Don't clone. The first question you had, what makes them actually glow green, is called green fluorescent protein. And so what it does is it fluoresces when it's exposed to light in the blue to ultraviolet range. And so originally it's from a jellyfish. It's from the Aquaria victoria jellyfish. And so that one specifically peaks at a wavelength of 395 nanometers, which means that it'll glow really, really high with a hit of that wavelength of light onto it. Right, so with a black light, it'll glow green.
But why put it into a cat?
Okay, so green fluorescent protein is used as a tool or as a test, basically, because it's a really easy way to see if you were able to successfully mess with the genetics of an organism. Because if you're trying to implant an anti-cancer gene or something into an animal,
you're not going to
you're not going to know if that worked until whatever.
So you can get it
but
to
with-
glow green and
exactly,
some lights.
but with GFP or with other fluorescent proteins and other kind of markers like that, you can know exactly when it happens. So the way they implant them into organisms is super fascinating and like really complicated. But basically, the idea is that your DNA is constantly being, like, when cells are created and metabolized and do all kinds of stuff, whatever, your DNA is constantly being kind of created and then destroyed and then recreated and then destroyed and recreated and destroyed, right? It's basically it's in the cell cycle, right? So your DNA becomes RNA, and what's the word?
And you end up with a green cat.
Well, so your DNA gets transcribed to an RNA sequence, and then that gets translated into a protein sequence. Okay? And this is why I didn't do biology, because I'm garbage at this stuff, and I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But
No, dude, you're doing good. I think the simple idea of, like, you have to know that it worked. So you have to have some marker of it is visible instead of seeing, because you're not going to be able to see if you cured cancer. You're not going to be able to see if you spliced something to something without some sort of visual indication of it. So this is one way of doing it.
yeah, and so basically,
Or you can just make it into a snake. There's
Sure.
a whole other side of things.
Sure. And so your DNA is coded in such a way that there are like there are things like chemicals that we can use to break DNA up into smaller pieces and then add stuff to it. So basically what they do is they use these like markers to say, well, I'll add GFP to this part of the DNA, and then they test to see if that was actually done correctly by fluorescing this protein. Yeah. And so we've been able to put GFP into plants, into mice, into cats, into dogs and pigs and stuff even. It's very, very interesting. And it's kind of where that bigger question of genetic modification and cloning and all that stuff, if it's okay, if it's something we should even do, right? But really, in many ways, the ability to manipulate DNA like this has led to, because in the same way that you can add to a bacteria or whatever the ability to fluoresce green at certain wavelengths, you can also code in other things like produce this anti-cancer drug, right? Or produce this chemical that we think will be useful as a drug, or any kinds of other things. So it's a fascinating field. There's a lot of ethics there that are questionable, I think, that still have to get kind of figured out. But that's the way it always happens in science, where you just figure out the ethics as they kind of go along.
Yep.
So, anyways, good stuff, Marie.
Well, glow-in-the-dark cats, again, like, I myself don't necessarily think... I think there's a good amount of validity to the fact that we have cats in shelters, we have cats that need homes. I understand why they're doing this in a certain respect, but cloning is, again, kind of a big area that is questionable. And again, like I said, you could start mixing around with snakes, with other stuff. It could all head back to ancient Egypt. That's all I'm saying.
It could all be just snecolopards or whatever the hell we're talking about them.
And I would say, my cat is a huge, when we got her, she was a skinny, lithe, could jump really high, and now she's literally almost rotund. She's just so cute, and I wouldn't change her for anything, and I most certainly wouldn't want. I don't think it would be good to clone her, but she's perfect just the way she is.
Yeah, so that's another thing too. Cloning cats and cloning any kind of pet has now become kind of something of a I don't want to say an industry, because there's only a couple places that will do it, but there are places that will do it for a comically huge amount of money, and the chances of it working, the chances of the animal not developing tremendous cancers, like all of that stuff, it's very risky still. We don't really know that much about cloning still to this day. We have a really good job. We're really good at cloning small things like cells and whatever, but we're not very good at causing cloning of a bigger thing.
Yes. Yes.
You know, even if you get the same palate, if it doesn't have the same upbringing, is it really going to be the same cat? I don't know. I just don't know, Marie.
Nope. Nope.
And that's why we got to go hug our cats now.
Oh, I love our cats so much.
I love our cats so much. Oh my goodness, Marie.
Dude, best episode ever. I love cats.
Best episode ever. We love cats. All right. Thank you so much for listening to the Mad Scientist podcast. We'll be back next week with an episode on economic collapse.
Which has nothing to do with cats. So all
No.
you dog people out there, get ready because we're going to go economic collapse.
Get ready. All right. Thanks again for listening.
Bye.
Bye.